Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into my podcast, Reflecting with Ron. I am your host, Ron Bagnera. This is episode 1. Today I'll be joined by my girlfriend, Jen. Let us dive into some deep reflecting. We will reflect upon anything from accomplishments, challenges that were overcome, revisit memories of the past, life experiences, or anything you were deliberating or pondering about life. And with me now is Jen. How you doing tonight, honey?
I'm doing all right, sweetie. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I got a little bit of the nerves and the jitters and what have you because obviously this is my first podcast and I just wanted to be well and get a lot of positive responses, and I just hope that it blossoms into something beautiful.
I can understand that, and I can understand the nerves. I'm a little nervous too. I don't really do stuff like this, but I think that what you have going right now is going to be very helpful to not only maybe you, but to maybe to a lot of different people. You never know who out there might have, a bad day and listening to one of your episodes. Maybe it's a funny, upbeat kind of awesome one that you just sit there and you're kind of giggling while you're driving and listening to it because it's just so out of the ordinary.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want the listeners to be aware of that. I'll be taking requests from Facebook, or if you have my cell phone number, you could text me. Please let me know if you'd like to be on this and like to just discuss anything relating to life itself and what you're deliberating or pondering. Like I said before, I really just want to hear people's stories and what is going on in their lives and to reflect with them in that sense.
I think that that's a great idea. It kind of opens up the forum, and you might get a lot of different topics that maybe you never even thought of talking about.
Absolutely.
And maybe you might have a couple topics that, are the same. It's
Yeah.
everybody might have the same issue as me, or somebody might have the same idea as you, or you never know. And that's the wonderful thing about this one, is that you can now delve deep into that, and you can have that reflection with that person.
Definitely. I totally agree with you on that front, and I feel it'll be very eye-opening. So, what would you like to reflect on today?
Honestly, it's kind of a touchy subject because it's not something that a lot of people might know about me, but I have depression. And I find that a lot of people out there, especially maybe somebody who's younger, might not recognize the signs of depression, or maybe, it doesn't have to be deliberate. It doesn't have to be, something that's stopping you in life, but it kind of stalls you. And you don't really realize it until maybe it's pointed out to you, like me, or maybe you do realize it and you just don't know what to do or how to make it better.
Right. And I feel, speaking from my family history, I know that some of my family members deal with depression on a daily basis, and I know that it can be really debilitating, and you feel crippled, and that some days you just don't want to deal with life. You just want life to take a day off, and that you're so consumed by all these thoughts, feelings, and emotions that you don't even know how to pinpoint one emotion to one action, and that you just feel so lost at sea, basically.
That's definitely sometimes how I feel. And there's just, it wasn't until I was maybe in my 20s, early 20s, did my brother come up and tell me that, your actions, the way that you're reacting to things, the way that your emotions are, the way that even your facial expressions and your body language is not the same. And it kind of put a light bulb on, like, I could feel the happiest in the world, but my face does not show it. For whatever reason, it shows one emotion. It shows like I am sad, or you might get a vibe off that I'm being really angry, or maybe I'm just moody. But that's not how I feel truly. But sometimes I can't help it.
Right. And as you pointed out, about the face. There's these posts that I see all the time on social media that, sometimes depression doesn't even have a face. The happiest of people, like for instance, Robin Williams, no one would have saw that, a mile down the road that he'd be suffering in depression and just one day, end his life completely. And, when people say that, saying that eyes are the gateway to the soul, I feel it's very similar to facial expressions, that it says a lot about what a person may or may not be experiencing or going through or thinking. And sometimes it's just maybe with the best intentions to ask, like, what's going on, just to give, a wellness check, just to see how that person's doing, feeling, like if any major changes have occurred or what have you. And just be there for that person, because sometimes that in and of itself will make a person's day, and that'll completely shift the dynamic in that whole emotion or that funk or that drought that they feel they've been in their lives.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. I think that, with me, sometimes, especially in the beginning when I changed my dose, that it's hard to adjust to it. And finally, you find that balance where you feel like you can keep on going. I mean, there are days where literally I just want to stay in bed and sleep. And that's part of my depression. That's how I deal with things, is that I sleep. But just like if you were to resort back to alcohol or back to, medications or drugs or stuff like that, the problem's still there. So it's becoming a little bit easier to try and deal with those emotions and deal with those outlooks that I have sometimes on life or on myself, and being able to push through it. And I know that you help me out a lot, and I try to make sure that, if I'm having a bad day, I talk to somebody about it, cuz you know how it is. I'm one of those kind of people who don't really open up.
Yeah, I know, but over time you've definitely improved on that, and I
Thank
feel
you.
that you like to vocalize and have your voice be heard, and I feel that is very empowering, and I hope that you see it in yourself, that you have made great strides in progress with that. And I just hope that I can help you in any way, shape, or form to make those, I'm not going to say episodes, but those moments that you feel that you're alone or drowning, or just, in your head to the point that you can't hear, the voice of reason. You just hear all this muffling sounds that doesn't really
Yeah.
make sense. Like, I just want to be there for you, and I'm sure other people that are listening would want the same from their family, friends, colleagues, co-workers, teachers,
Significant
mediators,
others.
anyone.
I agree. I think, when I was younger, I probably started this when I was around 16. Mind you, I went through, my womanhood at a very, very early age. I got my first menstrual cycle when I was 9. And that's really early for a 9-year-old. It was probably 2 weeks before my birthday, and boom, there it is in the middle of the summer. And I don't think that my chemical balance is ever really the same since then. You have different types of depression. You have depression that, is a chemical imbalance the way that I have, that I'm not suicidal. I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to hurt other people. I just have moments where I just don't want to talk to anybody. I want to hide away from the world, and I just want to lay in bed and just really pretend like I don't exist. And I just want to cripple into my own emotions. And a lot of things happened when I was, in high school, that it kind of just kept on growing and growing and growing, and then I wasn't really seeking any help, even though my mom and dad might have suggested it, my brother, my sister, and it wasn't really until I was 22, 23 that I start actually asking my doctor about it. And it was a step forward, and we started with a small dose, and then as we kept on going, like we've kind of experimented going higher, going lower, and the type of medicine that I'm on is not the kind that really, you know, and it doesn't make me not feel. It doesn't comatize me, comatize.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make me feel like that, but it makes me more alert, more focused, and not as drowsy as I can feel.
Yeah, that you're able to function and still
Yeah.
live your life the way you want to in your own image, but to be aided by the medication and being able to get through the day and not feel those lows as low as they feel at the
Exactly.
time. And I think you're really sending a positive message, and I commend you on that.
Thank
And
you.
it's very brave and courageous, and there's inspiration behind it, because I know that it's easy just to say you have it, but some people don't actually understand it, because some people may not view it as a disease and stuff like that, but it really is, and it leaves lingering effects. I believe it may be hereditary as well, that plays a role in it.
Yeah.
But I just everyone deals with things in their own way, and I can understand and appreciate people giving the suggestions and stuff, even if they don't personally have it. But you got to do it on your own timetable when you're ready to do it, and you shouldn't have to be kind of not bullied, but like talked down to about it when it's like you're the one going through it.
Yeah, I was very lucky where it actually, unfortunately, it started affecting my job at that time. So my boss kind of told me, like, I was having these days where it just didn't seem like it. And then I came home crying, and my brother took me into my room and was like, look, you need to maybe just at least talk to a doctor, see what they have to say. And that was the first step. And everybody's depression is different, and you might not realize you have it until somebody else tells you. You may realize you did have it, and maybe you're too afraid that you're going to be labeled as somebody who has depression, or maybe your friends or significant other or somebody in your life puts you down and makes you feel like, it's not real. You're not really depressed. You're just moody, or you're just emotional. I mean, I'm emotional. You know that. I'm a delicate flower. And I'm very sensitive. And
No argue for me.
no argue from you. I mean, anybody who knows me truly knows that I'm a very sensitive person.
That doesn't make you any less of a person.
No.
For being that person and feeling sensitive and
Right.
and
But just,
going through it all, and not taking it so badly to heart, but like at the same point, like it still isn't a great feeling.
no, and what it was is that I felt like maybe I was just being too sensitive to everything. Maybe I need to toughen up. Maybe I need to put on a quote unquote poker face. But in reality, it was completely separate from my depression. My depression had nothing to do with my sensibility. That's just who I am. My depression heightened it. It made me more sensitive to certain things, to certain topics, to certain criticism that I might have gotten, whether it's constructive or not, and I lost sight of the difference between the two. Which, in life, it's kind of hard, because if you're a sensitive soul like I am, you feel like everybody's attacking you. But you have to take a step back and see what their point of view is. And with my depression and the pills that I take, it's an aid for me. It's not a solution. It's an aid. It helps me, but it doesn't cure me. And that's a big thing that a lot of people don't understand, is that you might have depression, you might have, I'm overweight. There's nothing that will fix you. They're just And I think a lot of people are afraid because, they don't want to be changed, or maybe they're skeptical. Okay. Of the fact that maybe it will work for you. You don't know if it will work for you. You don't know what aids will work for you and what you won't work for you until you at least start talking to somebody. Whether you're talking to a doctor, talking to a friend, talking to a psychiatrist, talking to, guidance counselor, talking to your dog. Sometimes talking out loud, you kind of
are able to sift through the emotions and the feelings, and being able to pinpoint it and be able to assess it at that point.
Exactly. And I think that when you're younger, you have so much going on in your life, so many changes that you're maybe not used to. I mean, I know for me, I lived in the same town my entire life, went to the same school with the same people, day in and day out. And when I got to my senior year, things started to change. I was going to leave that school. I was going to leave that town. I witnessed my first big death in my life, that something was close to me, the passing of my dog. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, that's just your dog. But
some people view it as like another member of the family, that you grew up with that animal.
Exactly.
And in your case, vast majority of your life,
I was with him. I mean, my childhood was with my dog Gus. He was my dog. I mean, granted, he was a family dog, but he was my shadow.
Mm-hmm.
And then it changed that summer. My grandmother got a stroke, and then, they moved. And then a year later, I was in college, I left, I made some friends, and then my other grandmother died. And that was the biggest death that I had to overcome.
Yeah, they don't lie when they say bad news comes in threes.
Exactly. And it's just, I felt like all these new changes, new environments just all caught up to me at once. And it was like my little bubble of being, that cliche small town girl just blew up in one big old explosion, because life happened.
Exactly.
And it was overwhelming. And sometimes that's how it is. And I don't think a lot of people realize that some of our friends and family might not be able to deal with it the same way that you do. And that's okay. If you're feeling sad, or if you're feeling upset, or you just have these different feelings that you're not used to, talk to somebody. Because it could save your life. It could save somebody else's life. And if you feel that one of your family members is going through that, or one of your friends or somebody, reach out to them. Just, you don't have to say it in a blunt kind of way, unless you're that kind of a person and they can, or that person can receive it in a constructive way.
You're just lending a helping hand, basically. And I really appreciate you coming on tonight and sharing your story and reflecting with me. And I want to hear from, my listeners and the next people that will be on this with me. I will try to do this on a weekly basis. I will aim to try and post this on Sundays. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Again, this is Reflecting with Ron. I'm your host, Ron Bagnier, and this is Jen. And thank you for coming on. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and I will continue to do this. And have a great night. And I just want to leave you with a little bit of wisdom, as I feel is very appropriate, and that is, let us make a connection after a deep reflection. Thank you, and have a great